not sure anybody's talking about the physical effects of autistic burnout, and I'm not sure how much I want to talk about, but I'm feeling it a lot in my body, and it's happening. And so the videos I have planned are not coming out this week. This is coming out this week. And so just between you and me and the mouse hiding in the knot in the tree over there, give me props for taking the time to figure out how to set up lighting that's slightly seeable for you and completely apparently tolerable for me. It's a little bright where the white light is, but I needed to do something that made the video watchable and didn't just, the sensation where you are exhausted and you are in sensory overload straight out of the gate, fresh out of the bed in the morning, and everything is really intense. That's what's happening. So I found a way to do this that's kind of calming to me and not torturing me. That's maybe another thing I want to talk about. Physical side of autistic burnout. Sensory overload for me goes to the hilt. I don't even know how to explain what it's like. It's like it's no longer a thing I have to achieve. It's like it's a thing I'm suddenly in all the time, and everything is just over the top. Anything that was already bothering me, the sound of my computer humming, the experience of simply existing in eternity, in an eternity of things, in an eternity of particles, a lot of which like to meld together into objects that make more sounds and more lights. Wow. It's all just turned up. So, let's see. I've been in burnout since most definitely the end of 2021. And that's a wonderful miracle for me, because before that, I believe I spent my life bouncing in and out of different levels of burnout for decades since I was a child. That's a complicated story. I've experienced everything, apparently. There's PTSD, there's CPTSD, there's depression, multiple levels of depression. So, trigger warning. Multiple levels of depression, all of them. So I am also very familiar with autistic burnout because at some point in my life I knew I was experiencing depression, and I knew I was experiencing something that didn't feel quite like the regular depression symptoms. It was so similar, I thought, this is a different type of depression. For me, I know what it feels like. And I thought, under the weight of the most crushing, massive, most horrific, most feared, and probably most medicated, and possibly most stigmatized type of depression. Wow. I'm not saying this is what it's like for everybody, but for me, I would notice myself going into something that again felt like a depression, but it felt like depression light, like depression, and this felt like depression light, where all of the symptoms were there, but it wasn't so completely crushing. I don't even know how to explain it, because it was layered with the constant depression that never went away. Life was horrible, and I'm not going to hide that anymore, because that's my story, and however much of it I want to tell, I now have the freedom and the power to tell it. Because I say so. And because it's true, and ultimately I like the truth. So I was having burnout in the first place, layered with that, and learning what it was like from inside of it. I don't even know how to explain what it's like now. Once I learned, knew for certain that I'm autistic, the depression went away. And that's kind of a miracle story, I think, in a way. But I think it's probably not as unusual as it sounds in the autistic community, because when part of the depression is knowing how broken and messed up and helpless and hopeless you are, and all of a sudden you realize this isn't broken. Wait, I'm miserable because I'm permanently, hopelessly broken, and you're telling me I'm not broken, and this is literally just the way I work, and I'm a different style of human being. I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm a Star Trek fan and a sci-fi fan, and I love the concept of having different types of people who are allowed to exist on the same planet, coexist, and I love the fantasy of peace amongst them all, and I'm hoping to push that from being a fantasy and oftentimes, at best, a confused facade, to being into the state where it's just constantly sincere all the time. So I'm just going to try to do my little part by talking about it. But in Star Trek and really great sci-fi, one of the things about it is that there are different types. There are different types of humanoids. There are different types of any kind of sentient, sapient beings. They have different brains. They behave differently. I kind of rolled into this perfectly because it just made sense to me that there's more than one kind of being on this planet that works in more than one kind of way. So the depression left me, and I haven't had depression plus burnout. But what's interesting about that is, without already having the depression there as a lead-in, so I recognize that extra burnout when it's really there, I kind of miss the burnout these days because I have all of this extra energy I didn't have for most of my life. I'm learning for the first time in almost 40 years on this planet as a human being outside of someone else's body, just dealing with my own, exactly what it feels like when I get to that state. And that's strange because I don't know what it feels like. So it's very new. And it's extremely fascinating to deal with it. I'm feeling pains in my body. I'm not saying the burnout has created the pains in my body, but I have other health issues. And I am noticing a huge amount of effect on the things that are already happening, where things that would usually just hurt or ache are taking me out to the point where I found peace sitting on the bed watching movies all day the other day. I'm teaching myself how to take a break. Hold on. Dry throat, and I just want to get through this. I thought I was taking breaks and resting my body. All those years when I felt I was broken and all those horrible things were happening. When I woke up and got out of a depression, I had no hope that the depression would go away. And when I woke up and got out of the depression, all of a sudden I had amazing happiness and joy. And I also had this feeling that I'm running away like Miss Pac-Man and the ghosts are chasing me. And it's kind of perfect because it's nearly 4 decades of life. And I started saying to myself, it's almost 40 years. So each ghost is another decade and each one was chasing me. So I was constantly trying to outrun them, playing a game where hopefully I can do enough work, I can build enough things, I can show enough proof to myself and anybody who listen that I can offer something. That autism does not inherently mean that you don't want to offer something or that you don't have anything to offer. And I'm able to conveniently show it in a really traditional way, where I can sit here and verbally go on and on and on and on, because that's me. I love to talk. I'm good in front of a camera, apparently. Listening to people talking about being nervous in front of the camera, it never happens. So I've discovered a new talent. I just like it. Turn on the camera, I start talking. And I'm in a position to try and help people to understand more what my story is. I'm hoping that spreads to other people who don't want to talk this way. Maybe they want to tweet, or maybe they can't communicate in those specific ways and they communicate in other ways. I just want to do my part, so hopefully we all get elevated in our own way, however we can. It's important to me. It's important to me to break the pathology that kept my life to where one day I'd describe it as the ghosts in Miss Pac-Man eating away at me until 4 decades worth were chasing at all times. But when that feeling hit me that each decade, like its own individual ghost, was chasing me all the time, like I said, I was either trying to outrun it all the time, physically, mentally, trying to get away, trying to move forward, trying to go into the future, trying to learn new things, establish new new talents, Also trying to stay on top of my words coming out of my brain properly and hitting my lips the way I intend them to. That's another thing. I've been having a lot of trouble getting my words out just properly. Not slipping into the non-verbal moments, and they're happening. I'm just saying, sometimes I'm in a position where I don't want to have to explain why I can't speak or that I can't speak. I'm just trying to save my energy so that when I'm around somebody and I don't want or need to explain, I can speak. And then I can get away and I can rest from how exhausting it was. Right now I'm feeling impassioned, so it's a little bit easier, but it's still a bit confused. So I was either actively running away from the ghosts, the decades, or the wasted time. Or I felt like I was trying to get a really good power-up where I'm doing something. I'm producing videos, I'm working on my blog, I'm working on personal talents, increasing my personal knowledge, changing my viewpoint of life, trying to make sure I'm healthy in a way that keeps that depression away, because I didn't assume that since it left, it would stay. It's remarkable. I figured if I didn't work on myself, it would come back. So I've been doing that. I've been doing everything. I've been changing the way I eat. I've been changing the way I exercise. I tried to do everything I could in life that I never had the energy for, and I felt compelled to do it because autism brain, and I couldn't necessarily stop doing it because ADHD brain, and also them combined, there's a whole lot of interesting stuff about me, and I'm learning this stuff, and it's new and it's fascinating. It's astounding. It's a new life, but it's exhausting. I've been doing everything, running around trying to escape ghosts all the time, or trying to get power-ups, learn new things, do new things, change your life, so that you can get near the ghosts and not worry about them, because for a minute you feel invincible and you can just run through and chomp, chomp, chomp and use it as extra power and extra points. That's really great, but you know what that does ultimately? If you don't ever take a stop from the game, if you win, you pass this phase, you eat all the dots, and you don't stop, you end up playing ad infinitum with ghosts still chasing you, and I promise you will run into a level, as I did, where you just can't deal with the ghost or the maze anymore. This is what happened. I kept playing, I didn't take a rest, I didn't take a break from the game, and the ghosts ate me. So now I'm just pretty much living in a constant game over screen, and I'm learning how to rest. My resting from a few weeks or months ago, and from the past 2 years, has been me sitting my body down and researching endlessly. When I was watching TV or movies, I was trying to get it done. I was trying to pointedly watch it during a time frame when it was working for me. When I was eating, I was multitasking. I was watching TV, maybe playing handheld video game, eating, and setting a timer generally so I could remember to eat. Every 3-5 minutes, timer will go off and remind me to get another forkful of food or mouthful of coffee or something, because I was so lost in a place in my brain where everything had busted loose? I don't even know. Everything was bursting loose. There was so much going on. Even when I sat down to rest, I might start eating and not remember to continue. I might not remember to start eating. So it's just complex, because I thought I was resting, but I didn't know the new me as well as I thought I did, because I didn't realize how taxing all of this mental stimulation would be in my new healthy, happy brain. And that's something I'm dealing with every day. I'm learning all of these new things. And in addition to learning what it's like inside of my brain, I would realize, okay, I'm doing too much mental work. I feel scattered. I can't pay attention. I need to stop reading. I need to stop listening. I need to quit hearing the radio programs, the podcasts, the YouTube videos, wherever I could get information from, so I could help myself learn, change my life. But then it hit my body, and this is where I am now. As I said, like many of us, I have other health issues. All the symptoms I'm having, places where I'd have a little bit of pain or achiness and be able to kind of rest through it for a day or two and continue to function, do some stretching, whatever I needed in order to make it work out. Those little things aren't working anymore because I pushed myself to the point mentally where the fatigue has come out in my body. And this is not all me. I want to be very clear without getting into detail. I have a complicated living situation, and it doesn't help me. And I'm sure that's relatable without me needing to go into detail, because possibly forever, possibly for now, I'm not willing to or ready to go into detail. But the holiday season, 2021, holidays are done in a way I wouldn't do them. And I don't live alone, which has its upsides, I guess, safety-wise, and has a whole lot of downsides for every other kind of safety. So the holidays happened and they were done, and they're done in a way, and it's something that just doesn't work for me. Let me put it that way. It's not how I do it. It doesn't work for me. And I came out of it knowing I was exhausted. So I tried to rest. But again, I was resting my body and not resting myself mentally. So then some relationship stuff spewed up and stressed me out like crazy for a few weeks straight. And that exhausted me like crazy, in addition to everything else that was going on. So I never came out of the holiday exhaustion, and now I'm having all the other kinds of exhaustion. And for me, when it's personal and it's emotional and things are happening between you and people where you never wanted anything of this nature to be happening, maybe you never expected it, or maybe you never expected it this bad, all this stuff has been piling on. Then I did a 30-day Autism Acceptance Month marathon, which brings me a sense of, I don't know what the sense is. I don't want to call it joy or accomplishment because I was so tired. I wasn't gleeful about it. It's something I needed to do. And I am fulfilled in some way I can't explain that I did it. That information is important to me. Each one of those videos took work. I worked it thematically, and I'm not just pumping it up. I'd love it if you watch it. I'd love it if you share it. I think these things need to be out there. I'm talking about everything from why we stim to what's harmful stimming and the difference between harmful stimming and self-harm, and rejection sensitive dysphoria and autistic communication with neurotypicals, and studies about that, and answering questions. I put up content that when I did it, I'd never seen on YouTube. I wasn't really able to find it anywhere, and I thought it'd be easier to make some videos for some people, whether it's someone who suspects or who is that they are neurodivergent, or someone who just wants to learn about it, whether they are or are not. And I went through some stuff with that. I say this with love inside of me because I come from a loving place. When I put that content up, nobody else was doing it. Not every single video. There were 30 videos, and I tried to cover things that were covered and do them quickly and well, with good information, deeply researched. It was a lot of work. I scripted all of them. I don't usually script my videos. That's a lot of work. It's counterintuitive to me, but I was making shorts and I needed them to be concise. That was a lot of work. I was filming some of those when I wasn't physically well. That was a lot of work. I needed to get it done. I had planned to have them done before April even happened, but my living situation prevented that. So I ended up filming a lot of those the day they were going up. I would batch record, but some of them got batch recorded minutes and finished minutes before they went up, or hours before they went up, and I'm editing them and getting them up. It was insane for me. That was a lot. YouTube is a lot. A 30-day marathon where you upload every single day when you usually don't is a lot. These things affected me, and I'm learning from these things, and I knew about this stuff, but knowing about it on paper and from studies and from other people, I love everybody giving true information. And I love it being educational, but it feels different in the body when you're experiencing it yourself. So I'm learning what it's like when you're experiencing it yourself. And one of the things that happened after I got that up, during the time I was filming the 30-day awareness thing, I started to notice what felt a whole lot like somebody was copying my content. And like I said, I was choosing things, a lot of them very specifically, because I wasn't finding them anywhere and I needed the help. And I wanted to give the help. I needed to learn it myself. I was doing all the research anyway. Most of the stuff was stuff I already knew. I just did serious fact checking to make sure it was right for the content. Huge work. I actually started to notice someone, and I passed this by someone else, because I don't want to say this knowing I'm the only one who sees it. I passed this by other people, and someone else specifically told me it's really obvious that somewhere out there in the entire world, who shall remain nameless, there's a content creator that suddenly was creating content, even snagging some of my titles, very soon after I was uploading my videos on the stuff that wasn't stuff I could find anywhere else on the internet. And I had to deal with the emotions of that, because what's going on there is that I'm a small YouTuber and the algorithm doesn't favor me. And I was using all the tricks to get the algorithm to recognize me and to build something for myself in my own life. I heard someone use the term once, I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut, and that's kind of perfect. I've been called squirrel as a nickname. I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut. And that's not necessarily the case for the individual whose content seems to have been reflecting mine so concisely, and where you can look at mine and see how well scripted it is and the work that went into it. I have noticed that that content very often even seems stressed out and unplanned, and there's not information in the video as much as there is an extremely similar title, extremely similar content as far as the fact that you're making the video and you're talking about it, or you've got it online and you're talking about it, but there's no information and there's hardly any opinion. It's kind of like somebody got in a hurry and recorded. And this is a strange thing I don't even want to be talking about, but I don't want it to be happening, and I want it to be known, because I don't do this to other people. It feels horrible when it's happening to you, and I had to deal with the emotions of this. When I saw it was happening, I tried to push it down for weeks, and then for weeks it kept happening. And while I'm not going to say it was a fan situation, it was something where I had gone to this content to help myself in the past, and I've been looking for something. And so I was being notified on my phone when things that other people say, like I said, one specific person I think about, because their reaction was passionate, and I'm not going into how passionate, but they were saying it's really obvious. So I was getting these obvious notifications on my phone for content going up across the internet by someone everyone's algorithm will favor above me. So I put all of this work in, and that took place, and that hit me. This is not all that happened. It's just been a really remarkable few months. These things have impacted me, and so my body is in a place now where I thought, let me just sit down and explain why I'm not getting videos out the way I need it. My plan was 30 days of video every day, and then in appreciation for that and anyone who paid any attention to those videos, I intended to go ahead and put up my regular content and continue with some shorts when I felt the need, just like I was doing before. Just like I was doing before I did the 30-day marathon. But I physically couldn't, and I mentally couldn't. Once April was up and I knew I'd hit that, I crashed in a way where I couldn't even experience joy that I had accomplished it. I have some kind of fulfillment inside, but I don't have joy. Because I've been so exhausted. And maybe I'll have joy later. But like I said, that's not entirely why I did it. I want to help. And I needed the help myself. I wanted to share what I found. I feel some positivity I can't explain, but I thought maybe I'd be happy. But I was too exhausted because burnout. So I am working on videos. I am working on content. I'm on Twitter now. I stream on Twitch. Haven't done it in a while because I definitely couldn't do anything live. I will get back to that. I just want it to be known that what's happening right now is I can't just take some time off. I've had to take time off from everything but eating, and I'm just working on making sure I can still eat and hydrate. Because the best day I've had since sometime near the end or close to the end of last year is, I believe, yesterday, one day ago, when I sat in bed and I watched a movie and I messaged with people who are important to me online in a limited way. I kept it to messages. I did everything I could not to have face-to-faces or anything else. And I sat on my bed. I didn't even sit at my desk in my nice, comfortable chair. I sat on my bed and I had a throw around me and I just stayed there. And I did little things, but they were fun things. And I didn't do any research, and I didn't even play a video game. And I really didn't even have the energy to watch the videos about video games that I had up. I just sat. And I spent a lot of time doing another thing that apparently is not that uncommon amongst autists, where I just kind of talk to myself and worked out some of the stuff that was going through my brain. I basically hit stop. And it's the only way to heal right now. And it's the only thing that's helping my body heal, is resting my mind. So that's where I'm at. More content is coming. I'm learning about myself. I haven't stopped. Anyone who watched my marathon, I didn't lose appreciation for what I was doing, or definitely for you. I'm very grateful. I haven't been putting out a slew of content afterward because I physically couldn't, and I couldn't focus. And I think, oh, okay, need to film, and then it would just escape my mind because I was so exhausted. I was in a haze. So I'm fighting for it, and I'm doing it in a healthy way. Something I think about when someone says they're going through something but they're trying to get content out for me and to keep their audience and everything going, is that I don't want them to harm themselves, so I have something to watch or somebody to look to online. So know that I'm not going to be harming myself. That part in my life where I felt put upon to harm myself to help everybody is done. And when it ended for me, it ended completely. There's still some muscle memory, but don't worry about it. I say more content is coming, but I will never mean that in a way that means I'm going to push myself to harm. In case that's a thought going through your head, and I know it might be because it goes through mine. It's kind of a vlog I just did, and not just about burnout, but my life right now has been burnout, so that was the subject. And I hope I put some information out there and explain some of the stuff so that you know what's been going on. You know why I did a whole thing to get some, hopefully to get some attention on my station and content, and then just stopped. And it seems counterintuitive, but I hope I've explained that. And I hope that you heard something you can relate to. And if anything in the world, I hope what you take away from it is some level of understanding of self or others. And if you've listened, thank you for listening. That's about it. Bye now.